Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our first sponsor chat, Sponsor Cafe. This is the first one we've done of the 2025 season, and I know both Tina and I are really excited to kick this one off. I want to start off overall by introducing Bivo and it's one of their two leaders, is it not? And we're going to hear that story, Karina Hamill. So, hi, Karina.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
So we're going to talk a lot, as everybody knows, about their product, but I always like to start off these sponsor cafes a little bit with our story. When Kathy and I founded Basecamp years ago, and we had this different vision of coaching and community, one of the things that we really committed to ourselves is we were only going to partner with companies that had shared values and believed in the things that we believed in. And those are concepts around inclusivity. Those are concepts around making the world a better place. Those are concepts around, really believing that business and us as a business can do more and can stand for something in the world that's not just, hey, let's make some money or try to just produce something and push it out there without really taking some of the social, environmental, and different responsibilities that I think, quality businesses do. That's why we were super stoked to partner up with you this year. I couldn't believe it. I was totally excited when Bivo came on as a sponsor, and we're glad to have you be our first guest on our Sponsor Cafe.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here too.
Why don't we just start out? Give us a little background, introduce yourself, give us a little of your background, and then maybe, we're going to get into a little bit of the company's background, but let's start with you.
Yeah. So I was a cross-country ski racer. I got my first road bike the year after I graduated college. I mountain biked a little bit in high school for training, but I got into cycling after I retired from ski racing as an alternative method to stay fit and do something different. So I've always been surrounded by the cycling community, and I've always loved the endurance sport world. And my first career outside of being a professional athlete was to make footwear. So I was a product developer for Keen Footwear for about 5 years. I was in the innovation group there. And my first stint in product development was actually living in Asia and developing new relationships with factories across the globe. So I left Keen knowing that there was an opportunity to help brands find factories, develop new product. And I always really loved the performance products that I was working on. Just my background as an athlete, it was something I really enjoyed. And then I ran that agency for about 10 years. My husband joined me, and together we grew that into a brand or into a business where we worked with about 30 different brands over the course of the 10 years. And we always wondered why we weren't doing our own brand. And so we were always kind of like eyes out, wondering what we should create. And then I had my first kid in 2018, and I was really surprised coming back to work at how hard it was for me to come back to work. It was something that I had worked hard my whole life, whether it was training for sport or working hard in footwear development. And then it was this odd thing where I just wanted to spend time with my daughter. And so I realized that I had to focus on something different. It was like we just had to create something new, something that challenged me in a different way. And all while this was happening, my daughter also refused all bottles. So we were talking about that while skiing one day, and we really didn't want to feed her out of plastic baby bottles. And we realized that every time we were exercising, we too were drinking out of plastic. So it was this like crazy light bulb moment of, wait, why does this not exist? It's the only time of our lives where we allow ourselves to drink out of plastic. So we went home and quickly started designing within about 2 weeks, and then launched about a year and a half later.
Wow, that's a great story. It's so funny how so many great small to large businesses come out of that, what you just called the light bulb moment, where it's
Hmm.
like some habit, some behavior you have, and you just figure out this is a problem we need to solve.
Yeah.
And then away you go.
Yeah.
So tell us then, okay, so you get the idea, the light bulb goes off, you design a prototype and you're moving. Tell us a little more about the founding of the company. What's like the company's background? Now that we know yours, what's the company's background story?
So we wanted to focus on cycling because it was a space that we knew. We knew we had all of we were in Portland, Oregon at the time, and most of our friends were road cyclists. And so we knew the consumer, we ourselves were the consumer. And we thought that it was a space that was just like wide open for the taking. We did not do a ton of fundraising, so we didn't have like all these marketing dollars to go after a ton of different sports. We really wanted to have our laser focus on the cycling industry. And when we were looking at the cycling space, we were really surprised at how serious everything was. And so we've talked a little bit about this before, Tim, but our mantra is feel more fun. And that comes from my background in ski racing, where when I grew up, all we did, we played games on skis all the time. And we had these like crazy adventures. We would run through stinging nettle patches just because it was funny and we would laugh on the other side of it, or, crawl in the mud while we waited for the rest of the crew to pick up or catch up. And so we really wanted to celebrate the fact that every adventure, no matter how long or how hard, is a story, and it's about that. It's about the joy of those adventures and not about necessarily like how many miles you went or what was your pace. It's just about the joy of being outdoors and participating. So that's a big part of who we are as a brand.
All right, so tell us a little bit more about we're going to go on the product line in a moment, but you designed a very interesting product. And I was kind of writing my own notes as I was talking, and I talked about this concept of geeking out on stainless steel. I picked this up in your own material. Explain what that means.
So we call ourselves product geeks. So my history in footwear development, I've always been interested in how products are made. So we pay a lot of attention to detail. When we came up with the idea of Bivo, we had two concerns. One was it was going to be too heavy for cyclists, and two, how do you get water out of an object that you can't squeeze? So we had to work really hard at those two things. And we actually launched with single wall bottles first. So this is our original Bivo 1. It's a 21-ounce single wall stainless steel. And we went with a thinner gauge of metal, so it's much lighter than other metal bottles out there. And it's funny because now looking back, our insulated is like 60% of our sales at this point because there's so many benefits from insulated. And cyclists have gotten over the fact that it's a little bit heavier because of the benefits of cold water or warm water. But stainless is awesome because it doesn't impart flavor. It's infinitely recyclable. So you can just you can put the body of your bottle in the recycling bin if you wanted, and it would get fully recycled. So
Wow, that's a great, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. That's a great point. I didn't know that. So it's
yeah.
fully recyclable. I had wondered if some of the parts were or were not. That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah, and then the bottle itself too is made of recycled stainless steel, which is also a benefit. So we really wanted to avoid nanoplastics and microplastics, and it's something that we do have plastic in our lid, but the rest of the bottle, like where the water sits, is all stainless or silicone. And it's something that we are learning more and more about. I think when we came up with the idea, it was our intuition that it wasn't good. There really wasn't that much data out there about how bad plastics are for you. Now, 5 years later, there's a lot more. Last year, there was a big push around nanoplastics and the fact that it's in our brains, in our hearts, in our baby fetuses, and stool, and it's everywhere in our bodies, and it's quite alarming to see where it is and how that's impacting us.
Yeah, it's funny, you actually just stole my next question. I was jotting down notes, and that was the question I was going to ask you. Because when you founded, there was knowledge. We knew it wasn't the best thing to do, but yet we didn't know maybe the extent or the depth of the problem. And that's really becoming crystal clear right now out
Yeah.
there. And if people aren't paying attention to it, if you're on this meeting and you're not paying attention to it, start paying attention to what people are saying about plastics, drinking,
Yeah.
cooking, food storage, things like that. It's pretty alarming.
Yep, totally.
Okay, so you mentioned one other thing. I'm going to kind of hijack the session because I've gotten this question. Tina and I were joking about this earlier. So everyone gets the bottle. It's metal. I mean, you can hear it on my desk, right? It's metal. And they always have the same two concerns, which you sort of answered, but I want to explain it. One is it's heavy. This is an insulated bottle. This keeps things cold, keeps things warm. It's great. It is not heavy. It is slightly heavier than a plastic. It's not heavy. So that one I can answer in that simple way. The second one, everyone says, how do I get water out of it? I can't squeeze it, right? You can't squeeze it like your regular bottle. Will it just? And basically, if everybody's watching, I'm going to do this for the camera. this is the setup. So when it is here and there's you put in an airport right
Yep.
there, when you turn this bottle upside down, physics come into play. And as long as the cap is open, water actually shoots out. It is a nice, strong flow. I
Yeah,
love
so
it.
you just tip and pour. You can see the water just goes super fast. So you can empty this in about 8 seconds. It's 21 ounces of water. And
Mhm.
it's also just a super clean stream of water. So there's like no chugging, there's no air, it's just water. And that's, we get a lot of comments that people drink more water when drinking out of a Bivo because
Absolutely.
it's so easy to drink out of. Yeah, and then you just close it back up like a normal sport nozzle so it doesn't pour out.
You totally just crushed my demo, by the way. Like my demo was
Sorry,
this
I was
good. Your demo was this good. That was awesome. Um,
prepared.
that's you said one of the other things I really like about it. You don't pick up air.
Yeah.
You know how many times are you working hard on a bike, you're doing something hard, and you drink, and you kind of get that half mouthful of air, and you
Yep.
have to work that through. It is one of my favorite factors of using the bottle. So that is another awesome point to be made.
Yeah, there's so the straw inside that you talked about, this is a food grade silicone straw. And when the bottle does open, when the nozzle opens, it opens to that hole so that the air pushes in and equalizes the pressure inside and pushes the water out. When we did a lot of focus groups in the beginning of creating Bivo, and one of the main pain points for water bottles was that they're so hard to clean. So we put a lot of focus on that too. So our bottles are dishwasher safe. The nozzle is removable, so you can put your finger in and push on a tab, and that comes out, and you can see how open that is. So it's really easy to clean. It doesn't have any nooks in there. And then the straw itself is removable too, and it comes with a squeegee, so you can clean that easily. But and then you can see inside too. It's like we made it really smooth and easy to clean so that none of that gunk gets stuck in there.
And can you tell me again, because this is a question in the question and answer box, what is the nozzle and the tube made of?
They're food grade silicone, so LFGB food grade silicone. So they're tested for like the highest rating. So if you think about your bakeware that you or ice tray or ice cube trays, those are all food grade silicone. So food grade is an inert material, which is why we picked that for these two things. When plastic scratches, that's when it starts leaching the most. So when your teeth open this, it won't create a problem of leaching because it's silicone.
Excellent answer. Okay, so we kind of sped through a lot of good stuff there. Let's go back to the brand. So, wow, great story. You were ahead, you solved the problem you had. You got ahead of a problem that we all now have. You've designed a great product. I want to go back though, as you kind of put all that together. And you've already said it. You've used the concept of, you said fuel more fun. But now that you're kind of a more maturing company, you've been around for years, you're kind of, really growing. Tell me, what does your brand stand for? Like, if your brand is a message in the marketplace, beyond the fact you're selling a product or something like that, what does it stand for? What does it value and represent in the industry?
Yeah, so a few things. One, we do want to reduce waste. So that was really our primary thing is like create a better product that lasts longer, that's better for humans. So that's one of them. You know, the Pro Tour goes through something crazy like
Oh,
640,000 water bottles a year. It's like absolutely wild how many they go through. So to be able to reduce the amount of bottles that people are going through every year, some of we just hit our 4 year mark. And we still see the original bottles out on people's bikes and they're happily using them and they look worn, but they're awesome and they're still doing the job. So that makes us really happy. The other piece is just being a more inclusive brand. So we're female led, which, is rare in the cycling space for sure. We like to tell a lot of stories of people from all over the cycling community. So we really value the cycling community and talking with the people within it. We have a really awesome series on our site called Quenched. Tina wrote one, which was very well received. But we tell stories of all sorts of different people within the cycling space, whether that's somebody who's trying to do their first 100 miler, somebody who's trying to coach neurodiverse athletes, change it to make it so that women and men race equal distances in running and skiing. There's a variety of stories that we like to tell, and we use our brand as a platform to get some of those voices heard in the cycling space.
Wow, what a great answer, and one of the reasons we're so proud to be working with you and partnering with you, because I could keep it really simple for everybody and just say ditto. I mean, those are things that are important to our brand and things that we value. So thank you for doing something beyond just selling a product and standing for something in the industry.
Yeah, for sure. It's
Tina, do
been
you have a question or I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, it's been really fun, that piece of it, the storytelling piece. You know, my background, like I've said, is in product development. I've now turned into leading up our marketing team, which is quite funny to me. Like it's never something I ever expected myself to be doing. And that piece of it, the storytelling and meeting people along the way, that's been definitely the most rewarding part of building Bivo.
Every brand is a series of great stories. You want to build something special, that's what you really are building. You're a storyteller in that way, and it's one that's real and it's live and it spreads out there in the universe, in the world, in the
Yeah.
marketplace, whatever you want to say. So I think that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, I have to say, if anyone listening, if you've not seen those Quenched stories, you can find them on the website. They're fantastic. You can get them emailed to you. Highly just recommend. They're really fun to read. They're short, they're interesting. There's just so many different backgrounds and stories on there. I just highly encourage. They're a lot of fun. I know a number of you about them. But if you haven't had a chance to take a look, it's sort of like the way that we do our community stories, but slightly different, and they're really fun to look at. So definitely encourage folks to check those out. Um, yeah, so I want to dive in just on a couple of questions specific as we're thinking about our cycling community. So you have a whole bunch of different bottles. Can you tell us a little bit about what you have and how you see cyclists using those?
Yeah, so we have two non-insulated models, a 21 ounce and a 25 ounce. So we find that people who live in more, I don't know, temperate climates, they use those. The people who maybe ride longer and want more water, who are thirstier, they use those. And then we launched about a year after launching the brand, an insulated model called the Trio. That's a 21 ounce and a 17 ounce. And those are vacuum insulated bottles that truly hold the water, the temperature that they're meant to be. So we actually have a lot of fans in Arizona and Texas and Florida who have literally written in, they're like, we actually had to take ice out of our bottles so that we had enough water. Because it's funny, like we've been to so many events and talked to so many cyclists, and the regimen of putting a water bottle in the freezer, a plastic water bottle in a freezer, and then like knowing exactly how many hours in it's going to defrost and like or be warm or whatever, it's hilarious. So that has avoided a lot of pain for a lot of those people who live in the warmer climates. And then in the winter, it's a really nice thing if you're out an outdoor rider in the winter, or if you're a skier or outdoor runner. Just having water that either is warm or even just stays like normal temperature, so your teeth don't get cold when you're drinking the water. That's also a really nice feature. So we're based in Vermont. It doesn't get that hot here. I tend to use the non-insulated through most of the summer, but then when the winter hits, I really love using the insulated models.
I just have to say, I know I told this story, I think, to both of you, but I had a regular Bivo non-insulated bottle for quite a bit. Love it. It was great. I got my first insulated bottle and had a chance to use it on a 20-25 degree long ride this weekend. And I had one Bivo insulated bottle and I had one plastic, pretty high brand, insulated plastic bottle. And I knew it was very hot water into both. I did the same, sort of the reverse of the putting it in the freezer. I was like, okay, right before I leave, really hot water, and it's gonna last this long and whatnot. And that plastic bottle, I don't know, 90 minutes in, did exactly what I expected to, which is it turned into solid ice and kind of half slushy, half solid ice. And the Bivo bottle, I was 3.5 hours in, and I still had hot water, and that was a game changer. I've done mountaineering, I've done skiing, I've used insulated bottles, but the ones I've never been able to make it work on the bike really. And that insulated bottle on the bike was game changing to me to just have hot liquid, just super easy accessible. And with cold hands, not having to squeeze a half frozen bottle completely changed my ride. It was
Nice.
fabulous. So I just have to say that was a huge highlight on my end.
So
Yeah, I
good.
would add to that highlight the frozen point you just made. They're great cold weather bottles because you don't have to squeeze them. So if you have, big fluffy gloves on, you're doing everything to keep your hands warm. You don't have to be as dexterous to get water out. So it actually makes that part of it much easier.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned running and skiing too.
Yeah.
I know these are for cyclists. Do you find other folks using them for other sports and that kind of thing as well?
We do, yeah. We actually just went to the running event, which is a trade show in Austin, Texas, just before the holidays. It was very well received by the run industry. And then just my background in Nordic skiing, a lot of Nordic skiers are using them too. It's a pretty small community. But it's great on snow. And honestly, like any performance sport that you're doing, it's one-handed, easy drinking that delivers water very nicely. So it's great in all aspects of life. I think when we did a survey about a year ago to our email list, 95% of people were using our bottles off the bike as well as on the bike. So it's very well loved off and on the bike for sure.
I will add another one. Like I had to go out just before this out to my gym and steal this because I have them lined up because they're great for the trainer because of the water flow
Yes.
and what I do and not the best habit in the world admit I don't like I'll fill up four and maybe I go through three on a ride in when it's plastic I would throw the water away. In sitting in stainless steel, I don't. I'll leave it sit to the next day and I'll just be okay starting with that next new bottle. So they play not only all those outdoor roles, but that indoor role also very nicely.
I
All
have
right, go ahead. No, please.
one more really quick question because I've heard it, we've gotten it a bunch and it kind of ties in when we're talking about things, especially like hiking or skiing or but even just off the bike use. Um, I'm saying this because I've done it, but please correct me if I'm wrong. You can, when you cap that cap shut and tip it upside down, nothing comes out.
It is so it's not 100% leak proof. It's pretty good. I would say I would compare it to probably another sport bottle, another cycling sport
Yeah.
bottle. So one thing that we do have I haven't talked about actually yet is our dust cap. This is meant to prevent mud and dust from getting onto the lid. It's also really nice as extra protection if you do put it in your backpack because it just helps from the leaking standpoint. The other thing is that if you're traveling with it, a lot of people love to use these in the airplane because they just like they're just it's clean drinking. This on top of the nozzle to add a little extra from like germ spreading. This is a really nice little cap to have too.
Mine's a travel bottle too. Just another great solution for that, particularly because we travel with our bike all the time.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of taking a drinking bottle and then you have plastic bottles stored somewhere and stuff like that. This kind of makes a great all-in-one solution, less things that you're carrying.
Yeah.
All right, let's tackle some of the Q&A just to keep everything moving on schedule. So question number one, and this is an interesting question. Um, can we order with customized outer covering, say with a team name or other?
You can. Yes, you can laser etch. I don't have an example with me here. You can laser etch onto the bottle. So we can take the paint off basically, and it goes right down to the metal. So, and I believe the minimums now are 48 units. And we do wholesale pricing on those. So you can inquire through thirsty@drinkbivo.com and we can send you all the details on that. It's usually about a 3 to 4 week lead time.
Awesome. Okay. Next question. What is the height of the 17-ounce insulated bottle? I have a small frame and the 21-ounce is a little tall to remove.
Okay, if you're good, if the 21 ounce fits, but it's a little tight, you're definitely going to be okay on the 17 ounce. I don't unfortunately have the exact height in my head, but we do have a guide on our website that you can print out and actually cut, and you can like hold it up to your bike frame so that you can see if it's going to fit in there. Another solution is we have a retail locator on our website. And we're in about 350 retailers across the state. So And we're also now in REI, we're in 40 REIs across the country. So hopefully you can find one locally and test it out. But that guide is actually pretty helpful on our page. If you Google drink Bivo fit guide, I think it'll come up and you'll be able to find it.
Awesome. I'm sorry, I'm just checking through messages here if they're all different. Thanks, Tina. Tina put that email and the stories in the chat, everybody. So if you want to click on those and capture that now while we're together. Deanna doesn't ask a question, but she makes a point. So one thing that drives me crazy about riding in hot weather is putting ice in uninsulated bottles and riding gravel. The bottle sweats, and then basically all the dirt sticks to the bottle and everything gets extremely filthy. That is true. Do these sweat?
The cap might sweat a little bit, but the body of the bottle won't. The non-insulated will, just like plastic would, but
Interesting.
yeah.
Awesome. All right, next question. Just clicking through. And this looks like the last one of the easing. Den uses Morton mix, which is a thicker consistency. Will that be a problem getting through the straw?
No, so actually a common misconception is that you don't actually drink through the straw. That's for air venting only. Liquid will get up in there sometimes, and that's why we provide you with the squeegee to clean it. I would encourage you, if you're using a thicker liquid, to just try to rinse it out faster than you would if you're using another sports mix or just water, but that won't be a problem at all. We use a lot of protein, like scratch protein mixes ourselves and drink out of Bivo, and it's totally capable.
And it's funny. I was gonna everybody, and it's like you were appropriately using the right language. It is not a straw. Like it is not a straw. Only air moves through this. So it really has no problem with whatever you put in there.
Right.
Awesome. Okay. I think that will wrap us up. I want to stay on schedule. We try to keep our these sponsor cafes to 30 minutes. So one, we really appreciate you being a sponsor. Two, we really appreciate you answering our questions tonight. We post this in our Facebook group, as you know. Tina will post some supporting connections and this and that. And if we get any other additional questions, we're going to reach out and ask you and make sure that we get the answers that we have. We've actually had a fair amount of questions, and Tina has done a great job of answering them as we go. One thing, so everybody knows, we do have a special offer of free shipping. You can go into our swag page, into our sponsor page, take a look through there, find the discount and program. Tina just put the discount code in chat. So if you want to get one, you can get free shipping on the product and go forward from there. I can't tell you, I recommend it. I mean, and obviously we have this relationship, but we didn't do it because, hey, you know, we just wanted to partner up. We really believe in the product. And I think it's really important for everybody to go beyond. It's just a great product. If we can take plastics out of the environment, if we can, I've been with a lot of pro teams, I've been in a lot of federations, and you're on a team bus and you're watching them go through 200, 300, 400 bottles a day. It's stunning when you really see it happen. But to just get more of this plastic, more of that, more things out of our landfills and stuff like that, that's another great cause. So I highly encourage you to make some good decisions here, help improve the environment, and do things we're doing. Any other questions, ask us in Facebook. Karina, thank you so much for being on and spending some time. Wait, Tina has a closing message.
I do have one last thing to say. I did hint, we will be grabbing, we'll take a review of everyone who's on this webinar, and one of you who attended, I will be shipping you your very own free Bivo bottle, so you can try one of those insulated bottles for yourself. I will post that in Facebook and we'll share it out beyond that if you're not on the Facebook group. So I have not forgotten that I promised that. So stay tuned.
You got it. That's awesome. Thanks, everybody. Good night now. We'll talk to you soon. Bye now.